Welcome and good afternoon. We'll just give it a couple of minutes till a few more people get on, then we'll start to talk, okay? So we're going to link into the Dublin Mind Body Experience show. Once we get that link in, we'll get started, okay? The hat on for the second session today because some people didn't think it was me, they didn't recognise me without the hat on, so I says, okay, well I'll put a hat on for the next session. Keep you all happy. So I've got my summer hat on. Hope you like it. Just queuing up a little bit of background sounds here. Few people in already, I see, that's great. Hiya Fiona. Hello again, says you. Good to have you here. Sheila Carn is in. Hiya Sheila. Freddie gives me a thumbs up. Yeah, happy days, ready to go. Isn't it a beautiful day out there? Yeah, I'm just back after an 8.5 kilometre run. I nearly didn't make it back in time for the talk. I was wondering, I was going to I think I have to cut this circuit short to get back to make sure. So I just arrived in a minute to two. So here I am. Quick, short change. Straight on. Whoosh. The shower I'll have to wait till later. Okay. Numbers still coming up. Give it another minute or two, guys, and then we get started. Okay. I'm just lining up a little bit of music here in the background. A little bit of my own music, just in case Facebook is listening in, because I did a meditation this morning and they cut it because I played a little bit of background music from a CD of mine. Yeah, well, not from mine, somebody else's meditation that I use sometimes, but hey, we're getting really strict on all this stuff these days, yeah. Anyways, a little bit of my own healing music for this one. Oh yes, and don't forget, if any of you are looking for I was talking about the chakras there yesterday and this morning. If you're looking for a chakra chart, I've got some coming in soon with information on them. I'm working on it as we speak, and I will have it in probably about a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in one, give me a shout. It's got to do with the physiology, the endocrine system, the emotional centers, the spiritual aspect of them, the physical aspect of them. It's got all of the stuff integrated into one chart for each chakra, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, so let me see a bit of my stuff. Here we go. See if this works. No, it's not working because it's not talking on the Bluetooth. Isn't technology wonderful? Okay, we've got 4 people and numbers still growing. Hi Belinda, welcome. Just give it a minute or two more. Play some background music while we're sitting here. Let me see what we got. Bluetooth is on. Okay, well, here we go. Not connected. It will be now in a second. We'll find noise coming in. Bump. There we go. And we're on. Music maestro. There's something in the background to keep us going. Hello Patricia, welcome. How are you? Yeah. What a beautiful day, and it's not a good day to be doing talks online for people unless you're sitting out in the sun with your phone beside you, which is what I'd love to be doing. But if I go out there, there's people playing music in the gardens and stuff, and everyone's in their gardens these days, aren't we? All in their gardens, yeah. Yeah. So so it's like just keep it indoors and to be able to control the background noise and keep it out. So Bridget's Grove coming up in 1 second as soon as I adjust this camera slightly because it's kind of cut my head off a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Okay. So let's bring a bit of light on this shift. So it's like a little candle dedicated space. Let me just place it there. Shot. There we go. Let there be light, and so there is. I'll move over here a little bit. Okay, so Brigit's Grove and what it's all about. And I was talking earlier on this morning and yesterday about rites of passage and how people become programmed and conditioned by the environment that they're born into, and it becomes their normal reality. So Bridget's Grove was something that I looked into a long, long time ago as part of my own healing. And what it was to do, it was to do with the rites of passage of a young boy into manhood and how to go about it. And what happened was that there wasn't anywhere for me to go 40 years ago to explore this. I mean, I was in my mid-20s at that stage. And really and truly, I should have been initiated around 11 or 12 years of age through my rites of passage. So it's a spiritual quest that you're taken on by the elders of the village or the community. And of course, back in the day, we had first communion and confirmation. That was kind of like a rites of passage, and then not really, but that's what we had. That was the only spiritual vehicle we had in this country at the time. And look what that did to us all. So the thing is that what I discovered was that through my own healing work and recovery work was that there was a great imbalance in my own perception of what spirituality consisted of. In other words, what the mechanics were. For me, heaven was up there. God was up there. Goddess didn't even exist in my awareness at all. So what I found was that I was coming through a male-dominated religion, which was hell-bent on disconnecting or disempowering me and others from the essence of the goddess, which is the source of power. Women carry the power to give life. And in the ancient teachings of the Druids, we have this shield nagig, which is of course the vulva, and they had this as a sacred symbol. And they used this on temples to protect them. And the earliest Christian churches also had the shield nagig on a pillar or over the doorway of the church. So the earliest churches were embracing aspects of the Druidic teachings of the ancestors here in Ireland. And I think it was a case that they had no choice, that I think I believe the earliest monks were actually transitioned between Druids and monks. They integrated into one, and they brought with them the teachings of shield nagig and the honouring of the land as being sacred, because they knew that within the land there was an essence, a connection, a source of power. And when you think about it, to be within your centre, to be all powerful, is to be all still. To be still, to be calm, to be relaxed, comfortable completely within your own skin. Now, if you consider what we were taught was that if we go down into our own skin, and explore our own intimacy, our vulnerability, our sensuality, our sexuality, that it was a sin, unless we were given permission first, of course, by a priest. And then, of course, hell existed down there also. So I began to realise that a lot of my own mental health issues were to do with the fear of the devil and the fear of darkness as a child being programmed into me. And what I had to do is I had to go back and I had to look at all and say, how do I heal all of this disconnect? And then I realised it's about honouring the goddess. And I remember working with a lovely lady from England she was a high priestess priestess within the British Druids Order in England, a lovely lady called Emma Restelaw, her spiritual name Bobcat, and she came to Ireland many, many years ago, and I ended up meeting up with her, doing a workshop with her, and I sat with her and I got her to do a one-to-one session with me because I knew I needed somebody who was coming from another place who could hold this goddess energy for me, and she'd done an amazing job. And the first thing she said to me, when you go home, she says, you need to build an altar to the goddess. And then I realised the May altars, all of us kids, we used to have them in our classrooms, and we'd all bring in flowers and we'd dress up the altar every day. And there was a big deal during the month of May, the Queen of the May, So Mother Mary to me is just one aspect or deity within the whole essence of the goddess. Bridget would be another. So when it came time for me to honour the goddess within me and around me and to bring it into my reality, I said, okay, I need to create a sacred grove. And that's where the name, and I said, Bridget, as in not Saint Bridget, but Brigit, the daughter of the Tuatha De Danann. I'm going back thousands of years before Saint Bridget. I'm going back to the ancient legends of Bridget of the Tuatha De Danann, of the Shining Ones. Yeah. the elemental worlds. So this was a deity, and she exists within the elemental dimension of reality on this island. So she's one of the fairy folk. So she's still very much active to this very day, and a very potent goddess. And I said to myself, everyone sees Bridget as the saint. I wanted to take the saint away, and I want to bring Bridget back in, because Bridget to me is the pure essence of the goddess of the land. So Bridget's Celtic grove of illumination was created, and around that time, actually a few years later, I designed a calendar, and I printed over 2,000 of them. They were A1 size, full colour, and I gave them out free everywhere. Every psychic fair, every show I went to, every workshop I went to, I gave out these posters free, and they were hugely popular among the children, particularly young girls. They were having them and taking them home, putting them on the walls. So planting the seeds of the goddess within people's psyche was what it was about, and reclaiming this what we call very powerful connection with the land. Because we are like a light bulb. We're an energy, and there's two polarities within that energy. It's like, there's a positive and there's a negative connection that make the light work. And if we're going around all the time and we're hitting the positive and we're not finding the negative, in other words, the earth, we don't illuminate. We cannot. It's impossible, because we're not in our bodies. The idea is that we bring ourselves in and we become fully centered in mind, body and soul, balanced, harmonious, able to see beyond the fog of disconnection and programming and conditioning that was put on us by a male-dominated religion, whose primary aim was to disempower people and to control them with fear. And that's where I spent many, many years recovering from. It created serious mental health issues for me, and depression and suicide ideation for a very, very long time. And in transitioning through the work, it's about rewiring the brain. As a male, it was about me, a man, rewiring my brain and balancing out my yin and yang, my masculine, feminine side, my left brain, right brain side, and getting past all of the fears and the programming and the conditioning that had not only been put into me, but into all the earlier generations of my family. So there's generations of this shadow energy coming down, this disconnect and this fog coming in. So the idea of the fire and the illumination of burning off this darkness and this shadow from us is what the Grove is dedicated to. It's about illuminating the soul from within. So it's very much about working with the root chakra, the sacral chakra and the solar plexus, bringing you into your physical centers. The spiritual centers are the top three, the bottom three are the physical centers, and they're to do it defining your boundaries. They're to do it channeling your chi energy creatively into your life and being revitalizing and regenerating your body every day. And it's about that connection with the source of healing that exists within the land and within us. So the goddess within us, the feminine side of us, needs that nurture, that connection. So as babies, when we're born, we need that to feel that nurture coming to us from our mothers. But I can actually remember my mother, when my second brother was born, having to be touched, to be cleansed by a priest after having the baby. So all of this negativity was put upon the whole thing of childbirth and sexuality and women and everything, and she had to bow down and put a cloth on her head before she went up to the altar, and it was the side altar, you had to hide it, almost like a shame. So a lot of this stuff, we see it starting to surface now, the mothers and babies' homes and the orphanages and the sexual abuse within the church. It has come out everywhere now, and working with the illuminating flame and with Bridget, the sacred goddess energy, it's about lifting that from our people and our land. And that's why we have the Ancestral Family Healing Day every year at Samhain, to honour the ancestors and to lift it. But getting back to Bridget's Grove is about anchoring, grounding that energy into and bringing it into this reality and building this, we like to call it a fortress of light that illuminates everybody who stands within that grove with us, with the goddess. And as I said earlier, there's many different aspects to the goddess. There's Danu, there's Eru, Mother Mary. They're all different deities who represent the same essence. So some people, the goddess would be Aphrodite, some it would be Eru, as I said. There's many, many others right around the world. And they're all representative of the same essence, the essence of nature and nurture. And of course, that's the nurture that our mothers needed, given to them when they were born, so they could pass it on to us. And then if you look back to their grandmothers and their great-grandmothers, they all carried this same programming on this island. Quite dark and heavy stuff. So we're still, as a nation, only just over 100 years old. So we're only crawling at the moment. We haven't even learned how to walk yet, or to step into our power. So we're kind of still going through the transition stage of rites of passage as an infant nation, just beginning to grow. So looking forward to lots of new positive changes over the next 20 years on this island. But Bridget's Grove is all about giving people a vehicle through which to explore the feminine side of themselves. And it's particularly powerful for men and challenging for men to come into a grove that's holding that essence, because it challenges their ego and it challenges them to look at themselves and to get past the programming and the conditioning to find a spiritual way of living instead of a shadow-driven ego way of living. And it's all about bringing the goddess back into her rightful place with the god, equal and in harmony and in balance together, holding the sacred space. So each month we have the full moon hands around Mother Earth water healing ceremony. This is to heal, put the prayers into the water that we bring to the rivers and to the streams that run to the sea, because we all know how much the sea is being damaged and how much healing is required. And the sea covers 2/3 of our planet, so we're doing a massive job. And we're also 80% water too, so it's about recognizing the sacred alchemy of working with water. And of course the other one being the flame of Brigit, working with fire, as I do every month as well when I'm going through the different stages of the Celtic wheel. I do the ceremonies, I do the 4 fire ceremonies. We just had Beelzebub recently, and of course we were doing Lunas and then Samhain. So they all get practiced from within the grove. Not only that, but as I said, the full moon is a time of anchoring grandmother moon's energy and bringing it down. It's so important because we can tend to go out, and particularly for women, it's the cycle, the 28-day cycle, and it's where the pituitary gland, the master gland, is working overtime to clear out the womb. And of course what happens is that it can create a chemical imbalance if we're not keeping ourselves grounded enough. So the idea is that we honour that time and we hold the space to keep ourselves grounded within Mother Earth, so we can harness this massive magnetic pull that comes from grandmother, and then we can bring that energy in. We can harness it and we can manifest around us with that energy what is needed at this time here on Mother Earth. So it's about bringing it in. It's not about us going out and becoming a luna, as in, Latin for luna, is luna, so lunatic. It's a known fact that people go high at full moon time, and people can become quite unbalanced and thrown off balance at that time. So vitally important that we practice grounding and earthing at that time each month. Other ceremonies that we do, as I said earlier, we do the 4 fire ceremonies. We actually do the full 8 Celtic wheel ceremonies, festivals, right around the whole calendar year. And I've been holding that, as I say, I've been doing Bridget's Grove for over 25 years, and I've been holding the Celtic festivals for the last 30, actually been longer, because I started with my own recovery works about 40 years ago. So the idea is that bringing the Grove in, it's a space where people can connect into and can work with the goddess. And when we go into goddess energy, we're going into feminine energy, we're going into intuition, we're going into creativity, we're also tapping into vulnerability, coming into that vulnerable, open, trusting, loving space, loving ourselves enough to be able to love others in a balanced, harmonious way. And we all know what it's like. Relationships challenge all of us here, whether it's with family or with our lovers, whatever it is. There's always stuff to be there. There's always stuff coming up. And it's the same with the relationship with the goddess as you begin to work with her. She will draw from you as the moon does and bring up issues and bring up stuff for healing constantly all of the time. And that's why I love working with the fire, the cleansing and the purification of the flame. You'll see some of the ceremonies that are on there on my Facebook page and also on my website of how the flame works with me when we have the ceremony. It's quite amazing. It's a lovely picture of me at the recent one, the Beotham one, and the flame is standing about 8 foot tall in front of me. You can see the shape of a woman looking at me. The face, you see her features, her eyes, her nose, cheeks, everything, chin. Amazing stuff. So, any questions that you've got about the Grove, please do post them up, and I'd be delighted to answer any questions that you've got. I'm just going to see if I can get the tab coming up here, because the candle is between me and the screen there with the questions coming up. So what I'm going to do is just check in here and see if I can get the questions up on my phone. That'll speed it up a bit. Oh yes, and don't forget later on, 4:45, I'm giving a talk on ancestral integrational healing for our families, and that's going to be an interesting talk as well, going into the depths of ancestral healing and family healing, the family tree, stuff like that, you know. Okay. So Heidi MC is in, says thanks. You're very welcome, Heidi. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Patricia Noon says it's a beautiful day in Cork. Good to hear that, Patricia. It's not too bad up here either. Just been in for my run and it's absolutely scorching out there. It's a lovely day. Okay, give it another minute. Any questions? Please do post them up. Okay. I'll go back into explaining a little bit more about the Grove and why it was that I was kind of motivated to put it together. As I said, it was about, you know, honouring the goddess as equal to the god, and trying to help people to realise that for the last, whatever, 30 odd years of holding this work in Ireland and, you know, performing it, that it was vitally important that we all recognised that there's an aspect of us which is goddess-like, and that we had to address it within the land and within our country and in our islands, because we have a great devotion as a people to Our Lady. If you go around Ireland, you see grottos everywhere with Our Lady in them. Everywhere you go, grottos to Our Lady. So there's massive, what we call it, devotion to the goddess via the only legitimate, supposedly, vehicle that we have, which was the Catholic Church, and they presented us with Mary. So we honoured her. So we had this, you know, the month of May was dedicated to Mary. I know my own parish, every Sunday was, you know, there was a very special May procession, and thousands of people would turn up from all over Dublin to come to Inchicore, because there's a replica of the Lourdes Grotto there. It's built to scale, it's massive, and people would come down, they would do the processions, they would go around through the trees and the woods, and then they would sing hymns and stuff, and huge dedication, and many of my own family were hugely involved in those processions and stuff. So back then there was, and still is, within the psyche of the Irish people, this recognition that the goddess is a very important aspect of our spirituality. Very important. But of course, 30, 40 years ago, you know, this was unheard of. So we need to bring things back into balance, and that's what it's about. So by bringing in goddess energy and feminine energy, we're counterbalancing all this masculine dominated imbalance that we've had for hundreds, if not thousands of years, not just in Ireland but globally. And it's about recognizing the goddess, the planet, Mother Earth, vitally important part of our existence here. Because without this living organism of the earth, of her being alive and providing us with the water and the air we breathe, we can't exist here. And we seem to forget that. So that's what it's about honouring that vitally important connection that we need to have physiologically within our own bodies. We need to be grounded. Otherwise, the charged energy just keeps building up in the brain and we overload. And then when we overload, we burn out. And we create stress and disconnect. So disconnect is to be at ease with your dis-ease. And we all know that stress causes up to 80% of the sickness that we experience in these bodies. Why? Because we've stayed up, disconnected, tense, tight, uptight, worried, overloaded. We have to start using mindful practices to take charge of the overload in the heads. But we're now at a stage where it needs to become heartfulness, coming into the heart, coming into the emotions, healing the past, letting go the anger and healing the pain, and moving into a more peaceful way of living. And that's to do with balance as well, of course. Okay. Any more coming in there? Just checking to see any more questions coming in. Okay. So I'm still waiting for my first question to come in on this subject, and I don't seem to be getting anything, and it's all women at the moment. There's no guys that are coming in, so the goddess stuff seems to frighten them away. And that's one of the issues too, is that it's up to the women to initiate the men into this awareness. And in other words, it's about, what way are our sons being programmed and conditioned to be? Are they being brought into a balanced reality? And the answer is no. We're still coming out of almost like the dark age when it comes to dealing with what's going on out there. When you look at the people who actually run our country, the people who make the decisions, the people who control things. Now, and that needs to change. So this is what, it starts first with changing it on an energetic level. You won't see it manifesting like, 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago, bringing out posters of as Bridget as a goddess within the Celtic wheel and declaring her a goddess, and people only, what? I said, yes, she's a triple goddess. And people then start saying, oh, goddess Bridget. So Saint Bridget was kind of, being looked at, and then it was, and says, yeah, but they're two different things. The Saint Bridget is from the Catholic Church. Bridget goes back thousands of years, part of our legends and our stories. Because our original spiritual teachings were oral. They weren't written down anywhere. Everything was oral. So it was carried from one place to the next, and it was spoken. It was the spoken word. And stories and legends was all part of the sacred alchemy and the imagery. So storytelling has a way of giving children imagery to play with in their minds. And when you give them that positive storyline about the goddess and it being sacred, when you feed that into children at a young age, it takes hold and it becomes part of their consciousness. But if you feed them something that's telling them that that's a sin and it's wrong and it's fearful, and if you go down, there's somebody with a fork going to fork you into fires forever, if you don't do what you're told, which was put into me, and it traumatized me. So a lot of that needs to be healed, and that's what we do in Bridget's Grove. We take away the fear, and we bring in the light, and we bring in the love, and we heal people's root chakras, sacral chakras, solar plexus, the physical, emotional centers, and we bring people into a place of nurture. And as part of that, we also do the sweat light ceremony, which to me is a form of womb state. You bring people back into, to bring them back through the journey. Because if you remember, at the beginning there, I talked about Sheila and the gig, the vulva has been a sacred symbol within the Druidic tradition in Ireland. What we have to understand is that the Druids knew that women carried the power to give life. That Sheila and the gig was the gateway through which we all travelled to get here. So this was the gateway between the physical world and the spiritual world, and they knew this. And they honoured the women as equally powerful to the men, if not more powerful, because they had the gift to give life. Not the men, the women. Same with Mother Earth. She gives the life. She gives us the fruit. She gives us the vegetables. She gives us the wheat, the corn, the crops. The water just comes up out of the ground, the crops just miraculously come out of the earth. And we just take it for granted. In actual fact, there's an energetic exchange going on all the time. And we've been taking from her for so long and not giving back. And that's one of the other purposes of holding Bridget's Grove, to honour her and to give back for what we've received and taken for such a long time and taken for granted. So again, we have an imbalance and we have an abusive relationship going on with the goddess, where we've been taken from her for hundreds of years and not giving anything back because we were told it was a sin to go there. It's time to bring that balance back in. We've already seen what the imbalance has done to our people and to our children through the generations, and to the mothers and the baby homes and all those places. And we don't want to be going back to that again, but we still need to heal a lot of it. A lot of the disconnect is still there today. There's still people walking around who've suffered from it, and Bridget's Grove is a place for them to come to as well, a refuge where they can feel safe. So holding the grove is holding an essence of the goddess and sharing it with other people and raising the vibrations. We're not going to change the world overnight. All we can do is hold the consciousness and send out the vibration, and eventually it will raise and raise and raise more people out of the fear that's been conditioned and programmed into our people on this island for the last 1600 years. So that's about as much as I can share with you about the Grove and its purpose. If you want any more information, just do like the page, Brigit's Grove of Illumination page, and do get in touch. You can message me on it. And you'll also find information, I'll put the link up now in a minute, for my website. There's more information there about my work and what I do. And as I say, I'm back on again at 4:45 today, talking about ancestral intergenerational healing and working with the family tree. And then tonight at 7:30 tonight, I've got Journey of the Drum. Okay. Fiona says, can't wait until COVID is over and I can bring people there on a spiritual retreat. Well, when the time is right, we will have it. I have a beautiful place that I've found in the woods somewhere. It's a secret location. It's a beautiful place, and it's secluded and private, and it's a place where I'm hoping to be able to share with people in the future. So here's my website. I put it up here on the link. DermotO'HaraOnline.com. That will get me. And you can email me there with any questions or anything else that you want to know. That comes up for you during the week. And what else have we got? Yeah, so 4:45 I'm back on, and 7:30 tonight. And don't forget, I also do stuff within groups on my own page. I do a fortnightly meditation class. I have a 2-day intensive spiritual retreat, we like to call it, that meditation group, happening on the 12th and 13th of June. That's from 9:30 to 12:30 each day. We've done one a few weeks ago, and it was amazing. The response and the reaction people got to it was fantastic. So I was kind of motivated to do another one. So that's going to happen on the 12th and 13th of June. And yeah, so Stillness Sundays runs every second Sunday of the month. And I've also got another event coming up as well, where we have what's called Journey to the Circle of Calm, and that's on the first Wednesday of every month as well. So that all that information is up on my own page. So do please like Bridget's Celtic Grove of Illumination page here. And if you check out, I've also got a page, Dermot O'Hara, and I'll be putting up all that information there. You can also check in, if you're not already a friend with me, on my page, Dermot Shaman O'Hara. Just come in and say hi, and I'll just link you in, and yeah, so we'll take it from there. So thank you for your time. Hope the sun is still shining where you are, and it's a beautiful day. Enjoy the rest of it. I'll be back at 4:45, as I say, with my next talk on intergenerational healing. Always, and I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye bye.